Okay, alright, I'm just gonna film this right now. Ryan, when do you think you're gonna get your G-Fest vlog out? Give me an answer, I'm serious.
You're a funny guy. From where?
So in other words, if I get this vlog out before Ryan, this video will be the cold open, telling Ryan that I f***ing told him so. So, yeah,
So, G-Fest was over a month ago, but who cares? There's no wrong time to talk about Godzilla Con in Chicago, right? Right? Does anyone care? Anyways, I went to G-Fest last month, and if you don't know what that is, G-Fest is a 3-day event featuring an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord of pies and pastries and pizza and grilled salmon and hustle crabs and dumplings and cakes and sandwiches and protodermis and stuffed peppers and mutton and brisket and rusty nails and coins and disc launchers and meatballs and fresh squeezed lemonade and lithium batteries and But seriously though, G-Fest is the largest kaiju convention in all of North America, and in the world too if I'm not mistaken. And I went there. I bought the toys, I saw the boys, and we made some noise. And in my book, that makes for a pretty solid G-Fest. This is gonna be a different video than what I usually do on the channel, considering that this is technically a vlog video regarding the convention, and that's something I've never done before. So hopefully I don't make things too boring for you when I go about highlighting how silly this convention was. There isn't really much else I want to add for this introduction, so let's just jump right on into it, I guess. Like all based people who go to G-Fest, I made my grand arrival to the convention on the day before it started on Thursday, and I had a very silly little plan. Now, I wasn't going there alone. 1, because I was going with my dad, and 2, because I was meeting up with all the little goons and goobers that I call my friends. There's Ryan from NDK Films, he's been on the channel before, his sister Maddie of Medicart, Tom from Kamada Kizzle, Sam from 121 Film, Hayden from GBTV, and Nathan from Some Naughty Spud, though these two were off doing their own thing most of the time. Just feel like I should mention it now because most of the stories I'll be telling won't include them. Cool? Cool. Now, they knew that I was coming, and they knew the approximate time that I was coming, but they didn't know exactly what time I would show up. So the plan was basically just to come out of nowhere and surprise them. That's it. It sounds much better in my head than it does on script, but shh, we're gonna continue. So we landed, we got to the shuttle, and we arrived at the Hyatt Regency where we were gonna be staying for the next 4 days.
Oh yeah, we are so back, bros.
I'm gonna hop on a little tangent for a minute and talk about this place for a brief moment. Now, the Hyatt is the new location for G-Fest, as the old hotel, the Crown Plaza, just got way too small for the rapidly growing convention, so they moved it up the street to this new hotel, and yeah, it's just way better. It fits the rapidly growing nature of the convention by just being this whole labyrinth of hallways and corridors that you can just find all sorts of silly surprises in. Anyways, so we arrived, we got our rooms, chilled out there for a little bit after the long flight, and then it was a search to find my friends. I got in contact with Alex from Pulaski Films, Sam's brother by the way, who could act as the man on the inside of my grand operation. And then like 2 minutes later we found them. Basically, it went something like this.
Good morning to you.
Nothing could be grander than to be in Louisiana in the morning. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were still going.
Anyways, after goofing around for a little bit and managing to sneak into the dealer's room early, we got kicked out shortly after, we went to the Mitsuya Marketplace to try the world's most flavorful ramen and to get a bunch of Japanese snacks to consume. We didn't get the exact ramen from before because that shop had closed for the night, so we got this other ramen that was still really yummy. We bumped around there for a couple more hours, and then we headed back to the hotel. Later tonight, Tom, Sam, and I went to the Crown to grab Tom's stuff because that's where he was staying on Thursday, and while that was going down, Sam and I explored the vacant Crown Plaza. We did this last year, but this time it was different, mainly because we did it at night. There's just something about standing in that big patio space that hits different at night, you know? After that, we went back to the Hyatt and prepared for tomorrow's events, because that's when stuff got truly crazy. After waking up bright and early at 6 in the morning, I ventured down to the dealer's room line where Tom, Sam, and Alex all were, and then began the 4-hour wait until the dealer's room itself opened. Now, you lot at home are probably wondering, Sam the Geigen fan, what sort of reason beyond all of God's law did you guys wait in the dealer's room line for 4 hours? Well, the simple answer to that question, my sweet summer child, is toys. In particular, there was a G-Fest exclusive version of the YMSF Hedora that looked like a gas station puddle, appropriately called Oil Slick Hedora, and we all collectively agreed that it it looked cool and that we really wanted it, thus explaining the 4-hour-long vigil. Now, if you think that waiting in a line where you cannot leave for 4 agonizing hours might do something to your psyche, then you are absolutely right. Our group was probably the loudest bunch of people in that line, and to anyone else who heard our outrageous ramblings, I'm sorry. It's not like we had nothing to do. We took silly pictures of ourselves, we played games, we ate, and we made very silly noises.
Come on, Kizzle, you have anything you want to say?
We had a grand old time. Eventually though, the dealer's room doors did open. Now, there was one thing that I failed to mention when talking about the Oil Slick Hedorah. It was a G-Fest exclusive, but it was only limited to about 30 figures, or so we originally thought. Remember when I said we went into the dealer's room early on Thursday? Yeah, we actually went to the table that was selling the Oil Slicks, and they said that they only brought about half the amount that they wanted to, because the rest just weren't finished in time for the convention. So what was already a limited figure was even more limited due to this discovery. And even then, we had no idea if there was even gonna be that many, because who knows if any of the dealer's room volunteers decided to buy some for themselves. Needless to say, the race was on. So when those dealer's room doors first opened and we entered, it looked a little something like this.
Go! Why was up?
We sprinted over to that table, and to our utter relief, they still had all 13 Oil Slick Hedorahs, and we all managed to get one for ourselves. 'Twas a wonderful time indeed. We made out like bandits in that first dive into the dealer's room. By noon, each of us got some sort of holy grail figure of ours. Sam got a Showa King Ghidorah, Tom got the Godzilla vs. Megaguirus blister pack, and I got the Atomic Breath Shin Godzilla. No, not that one. Or that one. Or that one. Yep, there we go. We all bought some really cool stuff. I'll talk about it at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. We made a handful of dives in the dealer's room on day 1, buying all sorts of silly little toys. And then something crazy happened. Sam and I were just wandering around the dealer's room, and then Hayden and Nathan ran up to us in quite a haste and said, "Taguchi's here." Now, this is the first time we heard that statement today, as some other people we knew told Sam about it. But considering now that Hayden and Nathan told us, aka close friends of ours that we trust very dearly, we instantly knew that it was the real deal. So Sam sprinted off to get Alex and some other items, and I follow Hayden and Nathan to meet the legend himself. Now, those of you who are at home are probably wondering, who is this Taguchi character, and why are we so excited to meet him? Kiyotaka Taguchi is a bit of an indie director. He's done a couple of short films, one of which he was actually premiering at G-Fest, which was totally the reason why he was there, as well as 3 Ultraman shows, and the 4th one that is, at the time of this video's release, currently airing, and its 2nd episode was airing later that night. So, you know, nothing special. We met up with the legend himself, and we gushed and shook his hand and got pictures and the like, and it was really cool. Sam and Alex both got things signed by him too. In particular, Sam got his Ultraman Blazar figures tag signed by Taguchi, and needless to say, he was stoked about that. I should also mention that literally none of us knew that Taguchi was showing up at the con, which is why we were all so caught off guard and excited to meet him, especially when he was just walking around the dealer's room like a normal person. This stuff doesn't happen, so needless to say, it was quite the surprise to meet someone like Taguchi out in the wild. After that, I stopped by to check out the model room, and it was chock full of insanely cool models and displays. The detail and craftsmanship that goes into these things is insane. If there's one thing you could count on at G-Fest, it's people being insanely talented and showing some truly phenomenal work. Also, we met Godzilla Jesus. No comment. After that, we got together and watched the 2nd episode of Ultraman Blazar. Maybe it was just meeting Taguchi earlier that same day, maybe it was just how genuinely good the episode itself was, maybe it was just the energy of watching it with some of my best buds in the world, but this was one of the highlights of G-Fest for me. The energy during the entire episode was just unbelievable. I got quite a few clips from the episode, and I'll just let our reactions speak for themselves.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, come on, the food isn't that raw. The food.
And then you got to the final battle between Blazar and the Monster Ghettos, and all bets were off. We were screaming, some might say we were soyin', but we were having a blast the whole damn time. It was just peak.
My God! Let's go! Let's go!
I promise that one day I'll make a video talking about how good Blazar is, because yeah, it really is. Call me biased if you want, but out of all the episodes that have aired at the time of this video being written, this one is absolutely my favorite. Crazy to think that this was only one of two big things that we were seeing that night, because at 10:30 p.m. came the G-Fest screening of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Now, I already saw this movie in theaters back when it got that one-day release by Fathom Events on Godzilla Day, but there's undeniably a difference between seeing a Godzilla movie at a nearby theater and seeing it in the Pickwick Theater full of Godzilla fans. Now for context, prior to this, I've only checked out the screenings for King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, and those were absolute madhouses. So going from that to a screening that is comparatively much more subdued definitely was a little disappointing, but it was still a really cool experience. I still love this movie so damn much. The story in it is really strong, the characters are insanely likable, and the fights themselves are still insanely fun and exciting. The audience reaction was also really fun. Everyone thought that Dr. Yuhara's attempts to flirt with Akane were really funny and got a good chuckle from the audience. I've talked about this movie a couple times on the channel before, so I won't go too in depth on it here, but my thoughts on it haven't changed since then. This is still a really great movie, and I'm glad I got to see it. Here's a couple of anecdotes about the screening. At the time we left, there was a big storm that was rolling through, and it was really cool for a couple reasons. One, speaking as a certified California resident, I don't see rain often, let alone big storms like this, so getting a chance to see thunder and lightning at all will always be exciting. And two, Against Mechagodzilla actually starts out in a big storm, so we were all collectively being like, guys, it's like the movie we're gonna see! The Godzilla fan brain rot has truly taken over. One thing that was funny was that the version of the movie that was playing was straight up the Sony Blu-ray version of the movie. And I know this because it played the Sony Columbia logo that plays when you load in the Blu-ray, and also for a split second it flashed that really crappy DVD menu. That also meant the version of the movie that we were watching was the international version with the English text over everything, which was something I was not happy about, and I made sure that people knew it. Okay, one last detail. So Yumiko Shaku, the actress that plays Akane in the movie, came to the screening and introduced the movie. I don't know if I mentioned that she was one of the special guests this year, but she was, and they were playing this because of her. One interesting thing that was brought up was that apparently, aside from playing Akane, she also played an extra in the movie, that being a woman who was holding a small dog when Godzilla showed up at the aquarium. She told us to look out for her cameo, but I don't think anyone found her. Scouring through my copy of the movie while making this video, I think that this lady here could probably be her, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, that's all for the anecdotes. Not much happened for the rest of the night. We were all pretty tired and went to bed shortly afterwards. And good thing too, because tomorrow was gonna be even crazier. I got up on Saturday to wait in line with Alex and Ryan to get tickets to meet Yumiko Shaku. Now, normally, when you get to meet the guests, you usually just walk on up, do the payment, and then get an autograph and a picture, and then you go on with your day. For Shaku though, she had a very specific window of time to get to meet her, and a limited number of tickets were available. So once again, just like with Oil Slick Hedora, we either had to wait in that line for 2 hours without moving, or we were all screwed. All worked out though. I got the tickets, and then I snagged some pictures with the single greatest costume I've ever seen at G-Fest. Now, longtime Sam the Geigen fans might know that I am an open and proud anime trilogy supporter. I like these movies quite a bit. I am also a very open and very proud anime Mechagodzilla enthusiast. I love the design of this thing, and I also love how he was utilized in the movie. So when I saw this thing wandering around the lobby, I straight up did backflips. I definitely think a part of the reason why I was so impressed with this costume was just that it was anime Mechagodzilla, one of the most over-designed things in the entire Godzilla series. So seeing someone not only make a costume, but one that moves well is just amazing. And before you ask, of course I got a picture with him. If you want to see more of this guy's stuff, you can find them at Dr. Kaiju on Twitter. I'll have them linked in the description below. After that, Sam, Alex, and I all went to see the Yumiko Shaku panel. I never really went to the guest panels before, mainly because I just wanted to hang out with my friends, but I figured there wasn't much better to do before I got in line to get Shaku's autograph. So I cruised on down to the panel room, and not gonna lie, this was actually really cool. I'm just gonna list off a couple fun facts I learned at the panel. So you know that scene towards the end of the movie where she calls out to Kiryu after getting knocked over by Godzilla's He-Ray? Yeah, apparently she tried so hard during that scene that she fainted and had to get revived by an ambulance. Akane appeared as a blink and you'll miss it cameo in the end credits of Godzilla Singular Point, but then yet again, what didn't? Shaku had no idea of this and she was very happy about it. That was very sweet. Her kid is a big Godzilla fan. He particularly likes Jet Jaguar, but one of his favorite things to do is run around the house and go Absolute Zero and do the thing that Kiryu does does in the movie. That's just adorable. Those are all the big things I really wanted to mention, though there's a lot more stuff that was went over during this panel. You can find uploads of it on YouTube if you really want to check it out. After that, I got in line to meet Shaku herself, and after about an hour or so, I eventually did. Something that I failed to mention yesterday was that I was looking around for a big poster of Against Mechagodzilla, and I just couldn't find it anywhere, and I was really bummed about that. I was considering having her sign my Kiryu figure that I bought that same day, but then I learned that she had little posters at her table that she was handing out for free, so I just had her sign one of those. I did still bring the Kiryu with me, and I even got her to hold it in the picture I took with her. So that was really cool. Overall, it's just insane that I got to see my birth year Godzilla movie in a packed G-Fest theater and got to meet the main actress of that same movie, all within the span of 24 hours. That is wild, and I'm so glad I was able to do it. Not too much happened after that. I did check out the art room, where there were some really fun pieces in here. I particularly loved this little paper bag moth or larva, and then I checked out this one room that was weirdly hidden from the rest of the convention, and it had some really cool stuff. So, you know those absolutely gargantuan statues that cost more than some used cars? Yeah, this room was chock full of them. The company that was showcasing these was called Azobi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And seriously, these statues are so cool, and bloody huge as well. This Ghidorah statue had to have been at least 4 feet tall. It was insane. I will never own one of these. They are unbelievably expensive and I have literally zero room for them. But I cannot deny that these things are cool to look at. I don't remember if they had it on display, but I really do love their Godzilla Ultima statue. After more silly things, it was time for the costume parade. We didn't go to it. Yeah, I've never been lucky when it comes to the costume parade. Either I just never got to see it or there wasn't enough room. The only time where it somewhat worked out was in 2019 where me, Ryan, and a bunch of other goobers just hung out in Dojo Studios and just watched the costumes come back in after they had their moment on stage. That was cool. But the last 2 years were not kind to the costume parade. The layout of the whole thing is just kinda dumb now. Back at the Crown, the costumes would all just line up outside the room where they walked in a big line, and this worked because you got to see the costume, grab your picture, and then leave after you got what you wanted to see. But with this new system, you barely got any of that. People were crowding around in a giant bubble outside, and that meant that unless you were in the very front, you couldn't see a single thing in there, which absolutely blows. There were a ton of absolutely incredible costumes this year, but who knows how many more cool costumes I missed out on because of this new system being in place. I hope that this gets fixed in future years, but considering that this is the second year it was implemented, I highly doubt that. So what did we do during this time, you may ask? We got into all sorts of silly shenanigans, that's what.
Yeah, look at all those people over there watching the costume parade. Meanwhile, we're all over here playing with Godzilla toys!
We goofed around in Tom's room for a couple hours while all those losers were coming back from the costume parade. It was great.
You're a big Godzilla fan, you play with all the toys.
Eventually though, tragedy struck. Nathan had to leave the next morning, so we all said our goodbyes to that beautiful man. Also, this super cool Godzilla and Baragon costume pair showed up, and of course your boy had to get a picture with them. Who do you think I am? After that, we decided to hit up the Saturday night movie. Something that we were all collectively waiting for since we knew this movie was gonna be playing at the convention. That movie, of course, was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Sorry guys, 2014 is mid and I'd rather watch a good movie. If you saw my review of Prehistoric Planet Season 2, you already know my thoughts on this movie, and again, they haven't changed. The movie is still insanely good. I still have my problems with the ending, but overall, I think it is a fantastic movie. I'm strongly considering picking up the Blu-rays for both this and Into the Spider-Verse, something I just don't do for non-Godzilla movies, but that just kind of proves how damn good the Spider-Verse movies really are. Also, we all collectively quoted at least 20% of this thing, and it was great.
I created you. You created me.
I mean, let's create that guy.
But yeah, good at movie film. After that, it was basically just Tom, Sam, and I to do the good old-fashioned midnight shenanigans. Basically, the midnight shenanigans involves us just running around at 2 in the morning getting into all sorts of mischief. We snuck into the film room and watched the entirety of Gamera vs. Gauss on there. That was really fun.
Man, I love Gamera vs. Gauss.
Oh, I'm watching on his back now.
Yeah.
After that, we wandered around the empty hotel and finding all sorts of silly surprises.
What's up, Sid and the Goddamn fans? I just found this.
After that, we decided to go on a little journey. So, at the Hyatt, there was this little bridge that connects the hotel to the convention center next door. Kind of funny how the Godzilla convention isn't held at the actual convention center, but whatever, I and JD lose. We wandered through the empty corridors before stumbling upon the Lowrider convention. My dad told me about this earlier in the day, but actually seeing it in person was pretty cool. I ain't a car guy, but seeing all these cool classic cars was still a sight to behold. After that, we wandered through the corridor some more before turning around around and heading back to the Hyatt, all while singing Muppet songs.
Attraction, places please, light the lights, roll camera, action. I thought it was the end, but no, my friends, this is when we get to do it all again. Do it all again.
Could you tell that we were up till 4 in the morning? And that concludes Saturday. Now we just have one more day. After going around and making a couple more purchases in the dealer's room, I got in line to meet TJ Storm, the mocap actor for Godzilla and the MonsterVerse films. I've mentioned this in a couple of videos before, but the 2014 film was what properly got me into the Godzilla series. So being able to meet the guy that played Godzilla in that film was something that I just kinda had to do. I'd really hate myself if I didn't. At the time I actually got into the line itself, it was actually shorter than Shaku's line was yesterday, so I was hoping that maybe it would go by faster. It did not. It crawled. By the time I got to the front of the line, over 2 hours had passed, and at this point, I was getting kind of antsy. It also didn't help that he took a break right before I got to meet him, which only added a bit more to my frustration. Just to be clear though, I totally get that the dude just wanted to give fans a good experience when they met him. I didn't mention this earlier, but there was an 8-foot tall Godzilla statue literally right outside the autograph room, and Storm would periodically go out there and get pictures with fans, which was super cool. When he came back and we did get to meet him, he did apologize for the long wait, and he also asked me about stuff like what my first Godzilla film was and whatnot. I told him what I said earlier about how the MonsterVerse was what got me into Godzilla, and he was very happy to hear that. Again, Storm was a very nice guy when I actually did meet him. I recognize that a lot of my issues were probably just me-centric and me-centric exclusively. Also, I just want to bring this up right here, right now. I actually brought my very first Godzilla figure, the Smash Strike 2014 Godzilla, for him to sign. So it's kind of cool how my first Godzilla toy was signed by the guy who kinda sorta got me into Godzilla. At this time though, Hayden left. So now we were down to 6. We hung out a little bit longer and then cruised on down to the film room to watch Kiyotaka Taguchi's short film that was having its international premiere at the convention, Giant Monster Bugon. We arrived a little bit early, so we got to see this other short film right before it. I feel really bad that I cannot remember its name for the life of me, but it featured this guy in a monster costume chasing around some corrupt CEOs. It was great, quite a silly little film. And then we saw Bugon, and by God, it was awesome. The film itself was made to promote Beppu, a hot springs town in Japan, and only people in the town have actually been able to see it, which makes the premiere of it here even more special. The miniature work in it was also really great. The story in it was really engaging, and the characters were all really likable, and it was also insanely funny. Like, there were several moments in the film where the audience bursted out laughing, myself included. Not gonna say much more beyond that because of spoilers, but once this thing gets released in the West through official means, I highly recommend you all check it out. This was so much fun. Afterwards, there was a Q&A panel with Taguchi where quite a few people, myself included, got to ask him questions about the movie. I specifically asked him what were some of the design inspirations behind Bugon. I can't remember all of them, but I do recall saying that Bugon's face was inspired by snow monkeys with their red faces. Also, every chance that he got, he brought up Godzilla in some way. He really wants to direct a Godzilla movie as a sort of dream project, which, please Toho, for the love of God, let him do it. I don't even care if it's gonna be a hot sauce commercial, just let him do it, please. Also, he said his favorite Godzilla movie is Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, which is certainly a choice. I really wish I could remember more of the questions, but that's all. I can't recall anything else. After that, he had a signing, which we all rushed over to, and we all got signed Blazar posters, as well as another picture. I had a little Ultraman Blazar figure in my shirt pocket that I got earlier in the dealer's room, and he pointed that out. Not much else to add, I just thought it was cute. After that, we went to Kaiju Confessions, basically the closing ceremony at G-Fest where they play a bunch of kaiju-centric music videos. It was the first time that Tom and I went there since 2019, and man, nostalgia's one hell of a drug, isn't it? I mean, it was fun. The part where everyone sang that one song for War of the Gargantuas was neat. And there was this one lady who did an amazing cover of the King Caesar song. But other than that, that was kind of it. Not too much to add here. After that, it was pretty chill for the rest of the night. We all had some Giordano's, that pizza place that everyone has at G-Fest, except for me. This was my first time having it, and yeah, deep dish pizza kind of goes hard. After that, we all chilled in Tom's room for most of the night, hanging out and playing with our toys, before plunging downstairs to walk around the empty Hyatt.
Bro, they killed him. He's just sitting here, he's like...
Two things happened. So, Sam's friend had this one game that she used to play where she and a bunch of other people got into a corner of the room and then they turned the lights off and beat the f fuck out of each other. This was appropriately called The Dark Game. And naturally, what do you guys think was the first thing we did when we found an empty room at G-Fest? I totally won the game, by the way. I did not go into a corner after 5 minutes because I got rug burn or anything. Nope, not at all. Also, remember the Azobi model room that I was telling you all about earlier? We caught them just as they were packing up, and they allowed us to make one last purchase. So each of us got the last toy of G-Fest. I'll show that off to you guys in a moment. After that, we hung out together for a little while longer before parting ways, thus concluding G-Fest 2023. Before I say my final thoughts on this year's convention, really quickly, I want to go through the haul that I got this year. If you follow me on my social medias, then you know what I got, but who cares? Let's highlight the cool things I got at G-Fest this year. So first off, I got Oil Slick Hedorah. I already mentioned this, but I just figured I'd bring it up again. Then at the YMSF table, I got a boatload of guys that I really needed. I got 62 Kong, Gabara, a little Varan, the Giant Condor, and Kumonga. Then I got the 8-inch figures from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Super happy to have these. All I really need now is 2003 Mothra to complete this little trio. Then I got the Atomic Breath Shin Godzilla that I mentioned earlier. Then I got the Monster Arts Godzilla 1962 that I bought off my buddy Kaimo Films. Seriously love this guy. He's one of my favorite Godzilla figures that I own. Alongside the Oil Slick Hedorah, I got the Bandai Choco Hedorah. Really love the gloss on this one. Finally, my last purchases from the dealer's room were the YMSF Godzilla 1965 and the Movie Monster Series Ebra. I pretty much got both of them at the same time. Super cool to nearly have the entire cast of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster now. As for any other franchises, I completed my Heisei Gamera vinyl collection with the Gamera 3 boys. Super happy to have them, alongside the first 3 figures from the Gamera Rebirth line. I'm waiting to watch the show before I buy the rest of the line, but I really like how all these look. I got a few Ultraman things as well, including the previously mentioned Little Blazar. I got a couple Figure Arts Ultraman and some Shin Ultraman stuff, including the Beta capsule. I was playing around with Alex's all weekend and I just had to buy one for myself. I also got my first Kamen Rider figures with the entire Shin Kamen Rider Movie Monster Series line. Super happy to have all these, they're really fun. Got a few smaller things too, such as this little such as this little dinosaur car from Maddie, a Godzilla vs. Gigan Yuji Sakai diorama, super happy to own one of these things, a King Kong vs. Godzilla film reel, and the last toy of G-Fest. Remember how I mentioned I bought it from the Azobi table? Well, they have these little blind box Gamera figures. One of the figures inside was a Chase variant, and it just so happened to be the one that I got. This is Avant Gamera from Gamera the Brave, shown here in his colors right before he sacrifices himself at the beginning of the movie. I'm insanely happy to have this, it's just too cool. Finally, for the non-figure stuff, here's the signed posters that I got, as well as a huge Mothra vs. Godzilla poster I got for $10. Again, this is stupid cool. And that's everything. This was undeniably the biggest haul I ever got for a G-Fest, and I'm super glad I got most of everything that I wanted. There were 1 or 2 things that were left out, but hey, that's what both next year's convention and eBay are always for, right? So with all that said, in case you couldn't tell, I had an absolute blast at this year's G-Fest. I did so many fun things, and there were so many cool and unexpected surprises that made this weekend super fun. I'd say that last G-Fest was better overall, mainly because it was the first time that all of us properly got to meet up in person and not online, but this year's convention was definitely a solid second place. G-Fest is something that I always look forward to every year. Getting to hang out with some of my best friends in the world is something I will always cherish. I definitely speak for a lot of people when I say that's the reason I go to G-Fest. Sure, it's really cool to meet people who work on the movies and shows that you love, and buying Godzilla toys in person will always rock, but hanging out with mutuals who all share your interests and hobbies and actually getting to see them in person will always be such a treat. The convention itself definitely has its faults. Stuff like how the costume parade is set up nowadays or the removal of the artist alley will always be glaring issues, but it doesn't stop me from being excited every year to be with the people I love doing stuff that I love doing. I'd highly recommend trying to go next year if you can afford it. It is something that you will not regret as a Godzilla fan, and if you need any more encouragement as to why you should go, between this G-Fest and next year's, we will have 2 brand new live action Godzilla movies, both of which will most certainly be playing at the Pickwick and be the center of attention for the con. Not only that, but next year will be the 70th anniversary of the Godzilla series, so you know damn well that this will be a very exciting convention, probably the best one yet. My friends and I have been dubbing next year's con Super G-Fest for this exact reason, and you can bet that I will be there to enjoy every second of it. So if you are going, I hope to see you there. But with that said, if you guys went to this year's G-Fest, what did you think of it? If it was your first, how did you like it? And if it was just one of many for you, how does it stack up with the previous conventions? Be sure to sound off those thoughts and more in the comment section down below, and be sure to follow me on my social medias and join my Discord server if you want updates on my upcoming videos or you just want to hear my goofy rants about all sorts of stuff. And if you liked what you see and want to see more, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. Either way, I'm Sam the Gigan fan, hoping that you have a lovely rest of your day, and telling you all to wash your hands.
But like honestly, Yeah, but like honestly, that's like a good idea. Just
Yeah.
instead of having that, or instead of having like the traditional end credits, like it's just us talking over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the last 20 seconds.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be more than 20 seconds. You're gonna have to artificially extend the credits. And
Probably, yeah.
Like we should probably like wrap it up here